Hey friend, we're gonna talk today about notebooks. There are lots of options in the world for the notebook that you use to get down your ideas, you know, to get your next big idea, or maybe just to scribble down the few tasks that you have to do today. So there's a bunch of options out there, and some of us get a little bit persnickety. You know, you could always just go with a basic little legal pad. You know how much of my life has been accomplished through things like this? Or you can get kind of fancy. Get fancy with it. Maybe you need like a leather cover. Maybe it needs to be hardcover or soft cover. Let's get into my favorites. I've used so many, and I bought a bunch more to test out to make this video. And then towards the end, let's talk about some general thoughts about notebooks, note-taking, format, stuff like that. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a few different shapes and sizes here. Let's just start with these little ones first.
But first, this episode is brought to you by Western Rise, who makes this X-Cotton button-up shirt. It's a thicker feeling button-up shirt, but it's got tons of stretch to it, so it's thick, covers my love handles and stuff. I don't have to worry about my nipples showing through, but it's stretchy and breathable. It's made from a 220 GSM quick drying woven twill fabric that is odor resistant, and that quick drying sort of moisture wicking thing you notice just in the material feels so good and fits really well. And now they also make this X-Cotton t-shirt, all right, which fits me really well. It is a soft and very stretchy, kind of thicker material, and it's like your basic t-shirt elevated just a little bit. They've clearly made some upgrades to the fabric that they're using here. By the way, Western Rise Evolution shorts. I love these updates. Very, it's just so cushy and so comfortable. Western Rise are material gangsters. Shout out to Western Rise for supporting this channel. Links in the description below. If you do use my link, it does support the channel. Okay, let's get back into some notebooks.
So there's a few things that you should know about here, right? So first of all being your basic field notes, right? This is a nice leather case from Belroy. I'm gonna link to this. I'll be linking to everything below. This is how I put money on the table, how I put food on the table. Just use my links if it's possible. It's at no cost to you. I get a little bit of a kickback. This is from Belroy, this little folio for field notes. This is not a dumb idea, actually, because, you know, field notes can get pretty beat up in your pocket. This covers it, and Belroy also make like a tiny little pen that I used and then I lost. It's that small. But the field notes themselves, I've always had some I don't know, some brand loyalty to those guys. So getting small, just go with field notes. It's rad. Unless, let's say you want your notebook to be a wallet. This is designed to be like a minimal wallet that you keep in your pocket. It's paper, like a thick paper on the outside. This is from CR brand, link to them below. I actually used this a bunch. This was my studio get her done thing for a while there. And it ends up working out solid. You get a handful of them for really affordable. Then you have your wallet, your cash, your notebook right in your pocket. That's not a bad deal. Probably one of my favorites in this though is the tote book, the mini tote book. This is from Studio Neat. The thing about these, you'll see more over here, is just, how do I explain to you the quality of, it's just like the perfect kind of supple, mellow, without being too like precious on the cover. Get a little bit of security, or not security, but just protection. Dot grid, and then you've got some like little bits and bops back here. There's an archival sticker that it comes with. This is great. Here's one from Nemo Scene, which is smaller, and I'm using it as my like studio to-do list kind of thing. It has some like check marks down the left here, and the paper is extremely juicy. So writing with a gel or a ballpoint, or maybe you write your to-do list with a fountain pen, takes all kinds. I actually like this one quite a lot. Spiral, less good for in your pocket stuff, though it fits in my back pocket. It's just over time, I worry about these getting sat on and getting flat. The last one to show you in the small, I don't know if they sell this, but Track, that bag making company from Scotland, they sent these out with one of their packages, and this is great. It's slightly bigger than a Field Notes, and I find that the Field Notes can sometimes be a bit too small. Same with the CR brand. So I'll link to this below. If they're selling it, their little notebook is great. That's it for the little ones. The little guys, just put something in your pocket. Have an index card or two. Have you thought about that? One thing that I'm pretty serious about is using what you already have, on one hand. Number two, don't get your panties all bunched up trying to figure out the notebook that you really need to get, when really you just need to start getting some ideas out and making stuff, right? It's like spending 6 months researching what running shoes you should get instead of just getting out there and start running, right? In creative work, your notebook can really matter. It can also just be another thorn in your side, something that you're resisting work by fiddling with. Okay, probably my favorite size notebook here, all right, is this size. These are all paper, not hardbound, okay? And here's that tote book. They make the small one and they make this size. Probably my favorite cover of anything that I'll see here. I like this form factor and size a lot. One of the most important things for me in a notebook is how flat does it lay. This lays really, really, really flat. They did a great job with the binding on this one. But I will say that I do get some like ridges sometimes. Maybe it's just because the ones that I've used in the past have been like really well used. And I get some ridges down the middle, and that sort of frustrates me. Do you know that thing when it's just frustrating you? It's like the way it bound. And these are actually older. Maybe they've shifted some stuff between here and there. But I love the tote book. I use these like crazy. And I do notice a little bit of those ruffles in the thing. This is Baron Fig. And besides the tote book, probably my favorite notebook of anything out here. Well, I've got a few favorites. Lays very flat, right? Even when you're not on one of the spine things. I do get a very definite rounded bit there, so it's not as flat as I would like it to be, but beggars can't be choosers because I like how flexible it is. I like the really lightweight paper exterior. I like the dot grid, I like I like everything about it. Maybe it's just like I like looking back through these ones. I liked who I was when I was writing during this time, more on like notebook taking thoughts. This one from Lynks, I don't know. I have heard it pronounced a lot of different ways. Doesn't go too flat. It gets there eventually, but you've got that ridge. And one of the things I really dislike is when you've got a little ridge here and you're writing and anything on the edge, like writing close to there, my pen sort of swoops down differently over there and I'll get little ink blots. I like the idea of this one, not recommending it. Check this out. This was just I don't even know who makes this one. That sticker is from the Flow Genome Project, who I did like a workshop with. I included this here just because you might be amazed how much simple getting something during a workshop or some event you attend, for some reason it cuts behind all the BS around what should I buy? Which notebook am I, right? And you just start using it. This is just a reminder that maybe you have something like this somewhere and you should dig into it. Okay, this one is also from that Lake Term 1917. They make awesome notebooks. You're gonna see lots of them from them. This has got like that Moleskine kind of cover, and it lays pretty flat enough. I like that the pages are numbered in this. I've really never used a notebook that had numbered pages. And I wonder if that would make me go back into the inside cover over time and say, oh, page 95. There's that great insight you had about how love and relationships work. Now, these pages are slightly see-through. All of Lecterm's stuff is slightly see-through, and that gets in my way. So for that reason, and the ones that I've used of these before, I'm bummed. I would go with a thicker paper in the future, dear Lecterm 1917. And I don't know if their journals are, I don't think they're available in different page densities. However, this is a great size and form factor. I'm a huge fan of this one, and because I can see what I've written on the other side, they call it ghosting, and it can kind of feel frustrating. So in this size, the most recommended are the Tote Book and the Baron Fig. And don't sleep on this size because it's just nice to use this size. Okay, last one on these flexible ones is actually this one from MD Paper, which is, I don't know, it's just, there's nothing to it, and there's something I like about that. Pretty dang solid on the lay flat, pretty dang solid, honestly. But I'm not in love with how dark our grids are here. I'm not sure if they sell it with a dot grid instead of the full boxed in sort of thing, but I like this. Paper's a little bit thin. You're gonna have a little bit of that ghosting for sure, depending on what writing utensil you're going in this one. But I would recommend this. This is a fun, this would be good. And it's thicker than these. Part of the reason why I like these is they can get a little ratty over time, the Tote Book. Like, you kind of want to move on to another one. The thoughts that I started with up here are no longer that relevant by the time I get to the back. By the way, Tote Book has these great perforated cards in the back. I find myself using occasionally. Now, the same size, but these are hardcovers, okay? And the hardcover can actually be quite nice. It can be a bit frustrating because, like, you almost, like, this is what these flexible ones are so great at. Now, I can even be standing and writing like I'm a journalist, like licking the tip of my pencil. This kind of pliability and movability, I get to be tactile with it. I think that doesn't not matter. Words. Okay, Baron Fig are both of these. This one's plain page on the inside, and this one's got the dot grid. These are quite nice from a lay flat perspective, actually. They do really good. The hardcover with the sort of fabric-y, you're getting a little Hemingway. But it's mellow, it's low key, it's not too sophisticated, it's not too precious in how it feels. It's a better lay flat than their flexible one. That's nice, but you can't really shove this into your back pocket unless you're a hardcore kid in the Bay Area wearing those big old Jinko jeans back in the day. You know who I'm talking to. No pocket in the back here. You know, a lot of journals will have a pocket in the back. Nothing fancy. I don't need fancy shit from my notebooks, pardon my French. They also make a pen called the Squire. I'll link to this below. Not my favorite pen, though it does have great ink and it does have a nice feel. It just rolls off stuff. It has nothing to stop it from rolling. It's nice that it's heavy. I'm gonna do a video coming up on pen stuff. You can get a little bit of ghosting in these pages. Again, almost all notebooks, you're gonna notice that on the other side. I try not to think about it, but sometimes it can be frustrating. These are great products. These are really good. And they worked with my buddy James Clear and made this like clear habit journal and has all sorts of stuff in the front, all sorts of little doodabbies and, you know, prompts and year and stuff like that. My son took this one and started drawing a bunch of amazing pictures, but mostly it's just a journal. And I do really quite like the sort of alchemical signature there. Okay, Binda work. Now these are talked about like they're amazing. And I do actually really love the feeling, the like general aesthetic, the look, the feel, the right angles of this nice band that comes around and closes it. But all that stuff is just, you know, that's not what makes me choose a notebook. You know, how flat does it lay? This one does not lay very flat. Not not an option for the way that it just doesn't lay flat. But I do like this little elastic you can put your pen on. However, if every time I'm writing, I'm like pushing down hard here to do that, which I've done that a lot. It's just not my circus, not my monkeys from Binda Work. Rhodia is also talked about very highly. They make great pages. They do. They feel good. This has like a slick Rick kind of vibe. That's what I'm going with. Lay flat works pretty dang well. You know, and over time you break these things in a little bit. Maybe that bend to work works better over time. But it's like, because it's so thick, a thinner, like less pages in this would work better. This is the right amount of pages for something. Otherwise, you have too many pages on one side or on the other, or it only fits and works great when you're working in the middle of the book. So in this Rodeo, we've got 90 GM thickness on the pages, which normally is a lot more ghosty than this. This does pretty good for 90. 160 is like you can almost write on it with a Sharpie and you won't see it on the other side. The paper feels nice and thick. This is a good balance because not all pages with the same GSM work exactly the same. So these ones at 90 end up doing a lot better at minimizing the ghosting. Rhodia is going to be a recommendation for sure. Okay, so the classic Moleskine, right? You get into this. This is an older one that I used a long time ago. Quite a thick grid page on this. I don't love that. Here's one that's just blank. I kind of like blank, you guys. Let's see how their lay flat goes. I'd say it's better than all the others in this category so far by a little bit. By a little bit. Maybe. Rhodia and this are tied. But you love the hard and you know, I don't know. There's something classic about the Moleskine. I just remember going to Borders, you know, when I was in high school and just like wishing that I had something that was worth writing down in something like this. That's why I moved to these guys, because I didn't want to I just wanted to stop being precious about what goes in here and what doesn't. Just, I wouldn't recommend the bin to work. That's it. Everything else is good. Links to all that below. Okay, let's get into a little more of the thick size, just meaning taller, not thick, you know. I wanted to show this one. This is Magma Sketchbook as an example of something that I actually didn't end up liking very much. The paper's really thick. You could still get the ghosting because I'm using pretty dark markers here. Like with paper this thick, I wanted it to perform better. And just, it ends up feeling like a very big notebook. There's something about the way this felt that over time I just didn't like. Now compare that to this or even this one. This is a hard cover Moleskine. Super thick, super gnarly. But boy, I don't know, I just loved using this thing. I remember it fondly. I mean, you just have so much space coming into this and it lays so flat. I don't know if this is old. I don't know if they're still doing this, but like binding it this way. But this was one of my favorite notebooks ever because you had so much space. However, you're like, this is the size of, like you have laptops that are smaller than this. Including it here because it gets a thumbs up from me. And sometimes you switch it up, move from something like this to something like this, just for a spell, just to see what it's like. So this Magma felt like smaller than this one, and yet it kind of just felt more cumbersome over time. Why? How does that work? I don't know. How do magnets work? This is a Moleskine, big guy, but it's flexible. And I've got some bits and bops in the back here. They oftentimes these journals have a little pouch back there, which is nice. The paper's great, the lay flat's nice. I have always loved this. Now, if I had a bunch of these in the bookshelf, I would probably prefer a bunch of these on the bookshelf as like, where was I in 2011 compared to a bunch of these. I just find that I don't know, I don't have the same feeling about this. Maybe it was the time of life that I was using it. But if I'm already at this big, moving to this big and using the hardcover, it just changed things. A great hardcover in this size is from Baron Fig. They do a good job. Decent lay flat. It's not the best of the best on their binding, but when you have big pages like this, it ends up working itself out. I apologize. It ends up working itself out when you have more paper to work with on this thing. Now, no folder in the back, nothing fancy to it. I like this gray color. I bet they have different colors, but I tend to like the way that this, I don't know, it breaks in over time. You get like sort of dirt and dust all over, finger and smudge and oil marks, and it kind of endears me to it. It has more of a patina to it than, you know, than some of the leather, which still does, it looks good. Okay, Nemo Scene. These guys are new to me, but there's something to be said for these spiral bounds, for how they, and goodness gracious, this paper. Woo-wee! It's very smooth, is what I'm getting at. It's like, it's not textured at all, it's very smooth. You wanna talk about lay flat? Look at that. Now, if you're left-handed and you're writing over here, if you're right-handed and you're writing over here, those tend to get in the way. Got a big enough page where it's, may not be a problem. On this page stuff, we have some dot grid and then some shit up here. I don't know if it's really for me, but this is for sure worth an exploration. They make a lot of different sizes and they make a lot of different page types, right? Like this one has like almost to-do type stuff. So they have lots of different sizes, shapes, and page types around. There's something about the paper that's really quite nice. So if you're a little bit like, oh yeah, how's my fountain pen gonna write on that? You should check into it. But because of the spiral bound, it's not spiral, it's ring bound, it's not for everybody. There's something about it that feels good to me. And there's other parts of it that are like, oh, when you're writing with your right hand on it. But this is an epic notebook. I'm definitely gonna be using this one soon. Okay, another bin to work. This is the big one. Again, I can't speak highly enough of just the way these feel. They look and feel great. You take your pen and you put it right in there. Then let's see how we're doing on the lay flat with this. It's like, it's okay. But for the way that this feels, it's pretty good. This one's better than the other one because the bigger pages make it a little bit easier. But man, for something that feels like this, I want better lay flat. I want them to have, you know, German engineered, but I'm sure it's like, maybe it's like super durable, and if they laid it flatter, then it wouldn't last as long, or something like that. Okay, last little segment here is a handful of just different things you might not think of. The regular old legal pad, have these around. Take notes, rip something off, chew on it. These, you can get so much done with crap like that. You don't need to be reminded of that, but you know. These guys make this like, this pen attachment for your notebooks. You take this, it's got an adhesive, and you attach it to your notebook, and then you've got a little elastic sleeve to put your pen in. Beware, because it's quite a small little loop there for your pen. Like your number 2 pencil from back in the day would fit perfectly there. I've also in the past done things like this where it's just tape around one of the pages. Don't hesitate, man. Just making a loop. A tape loop there. I've done it with duct tape to get a pen next to it. Anyways, that's less relevant to this video. I just thought that you should know about that. Now, I don't know if these guys are still making paper, but it's USA, and it is one of these great, like, legal pad kind of things, but because it's spiral bound, it ends up working great. The pages are all perforated. This is good. This is Knock. I will link to them below. All right. Probably 2 of the most interesting notebooks here. This is the Pano Pad from Studio Neat. All right, these are actually sticky up here. You rip it off, you stick it to something. The sticky, I put it on the wall, my wall's textured, and it doesn't stay up for forever. So I find myself taping it with some tape back on. However, this is designed to fit between you and your computer. Right? So imagine this is my computer, here's this, and I just take a little note. It's got a dot grid here, it lays flat. I get a little bit of clouding, like a little bit of bubbling up, and I don't love that. It's just a notepad. It doesn't have a hard back. I think in the future, Studio Neat, that might be something to shift. Hard back doesn't feel bad, but it is extremely thin, and it's nice size for those kind of doodles right on your desk. Now, probably, I love their tote book, and I love this little Pano pad, but a spiral bound wild size with hardcover, and they're like soft, like faux leather. What is this? This is the Pano book, and it is designed to fit between you and your computer just like this. So it's the same thing as this pad, just spiral bound. So you can choose. I want it to stay as a collective in a book, or I want to just rip something off, throw it away, put it on the board or whatever. I do prefer writing on this one because it's so clean. This one has a little bit of poofiness that I get sometimes because there's adhesive on the top, like 3/4 of an inch there. The materials of this alone are just the way it feels are great. I'm not sure about putting this in my bag, maybe even using it vertically. It's funky. That funky size is, I'm gonna show you, actually, the next thing I'll talk to you about is about this funky size. Funky size stuff can go a long way. This might be, you draw a line there and a line there. That's a perfect size for a 20-minute video. Chunk 1, chunk 2, chunk 3. And you can, or maybe it's like a longer essay, right? This size factor is super unique, and some of you need to know about it. I'm not sure who. And it's probably my best feeling, the best feeling thing of all of this to me is just the way this feels. I actually do quite like these Nemo scenes. You're used to the plastic, you've seen a million times, but I do kind of like them in the paper. But there's something about this one that's like, ooh. And it comes in this rad little archival box. So you get a bunch of these, you get to write on the spine, like, here's what I was doing, this is 2011 or whatever. Now, to that point about weird size, this is Fool's Cap. Have you ever heard of this? Stephen Pressfield, who wrote an amazing book called The War of Art. He wrote Legend of Bagger Vance. He's just a gangster. He says this is the perfect size for a movie. This is a movie. And he has this whole method by which he... So anyways, it got me excited about it. And I started using it for different... there's something about having that extra, what, like maybe 3 inches at the bottom of a regular legal pad. Super weird. But I like think more creatively with this thing. What's that about? Okay, then finally, this is not a notebook. These are things that you, this is a big boy, just to show you that the same thing I'm about to show you comes in a really big size. These are spring-bound notebooks that you just pull back like this, and you put your papers, business papers, man, notes, like pages from other notebooks, sketchbooks, plop them right in there, and then close it down, and you've got a beautifully bound, nice and protected bit of your life. Why I'm bringing this up is oftentimes it feels like it's not important if it's not in some notebook. The truth is, bringing around just blank computer paper with you gives you the ability of having a single sheet. There's no bunching. You want to talk about good lay flat, right? You can have a handful of them. Then you put them into this when you're done. Organize, change the size, change the page order. There's something to that that's not insignificant. So your mileage may vary on that. Some of you need to know about this. I will link to it below. Okay, that's it. I've been gridding out all my old journals and notebooks. You've seen some of them out here. I've got stacks and stacks through the years. You know, notebooks are kind of like prompts to my future self. This is like, all roads lead to being a memoirist of your own life, even if it's only for your own grandkids or something, right? These are your primary source materials for that. There's something about looking through a notebook, and I don't tend to do this with digital notes. I've did a review of the iPad Pro versus the Remarkable 2. I do love taking notes digitally. But there's something about this journaling process where at the end of it, I have this artifact. Like the kind of thing that I'm like, okay, if there's a bug out box in my house, like I want my journals to be in there. One of the most important reasons why is because I can see in the handwriting something, and obviously the words and the doodles and stuff, something of who this person was when I was doing this, right? There's something remarkable about tracking yourself over time. Notebooks give us that ability. Maybe more than anything else. I mean, you can go back and read your old emails, the kind of emails you sent to your mom and dad or whatever, like bosses or whatever, you could get a sense of yourself. But if you have a practice of journaling, note-taking, most of these are creative ideas. Some of these are like journal, like praying. Like I used to be a heavy-duty evangelical. Like Jesus and I are sort of in an open relationship right now. But this is full of prayers. And I would just write them out. I loved it, right? I get to revisit that guy. So as you're thinking about these notebooks, one of the cool things is that all of these are going to last through the ages as long as you don't, destroy them by fire or lose them, right? Even if you get them soaking wet, you can dry them out. It's not about the durability. It's about, are you going to fucking use it? Pardon my French. Are you going to crack it open and start using it? So I show all of these because, sometimes you get a little like hot and sweaty about something, like I need a new pair of running shoes before I can go running. Fine. Get yourself a notebook, but then use it. My take of all of these, what would I pick? What would I encourage you towards? Like I said, the Baron Fig, this guy, great size and shape, great durability, great, just good, it's good form factor. The tote book, right? This is a perfect size. Just start going. Don't be afraid to head into that hardcover territory unless you know that's probably going to be not something that you use, right? I think a lot of you would like have this and be intimidated by it. So fuck off with it. Don't worry about it. Don't get the hardcover one then. Some of you are like, I need to try that. I need to try something new. I'd say this Rhodia one and the Moleskin, even though I kind of talk some shit about these ones occasionally, I don't like the dark, and Moleskin, it can feel a little precious. This one's all broken in. Just start messing your thing up. Put a sticker on it, right? Put a weird paint mark on it. Start messing it up a little bit. This Rhodia is really quite great as well. So this is a good mix. This is a really good mix between fancy and, and whatever, approachable. I feel like future me is gonna watch this video and go like, how long is that video you made on notebooks, dude? Did you have nothing else going on? I geek out about this stuff. I really do. I geek out about the creative process. I've been a full-time professional creative for almost as long as I can remember now. This is my gig, and this is what I do. And guess where it comes from? It's like shit like this. This is how I move things through the world. From the ether into an idea and out into shipping and production, okay? In fact, I got a link below at this time code. If you're interested in my tips and tricks on that link is for you. I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna put in there, but this is what I taught for a long time, and then I built a business, and you can check out fizzle.co. I'll link to that in the description below if you're an independent entrepreneur. But I've got some tools and tips and tricks on finding your own creative process so that you can move things through from the idea out into the world. Because guess what? There's another one coming right behind it. There's another idea coming right behind it. And that's a lifestyle. And it's a relationship you're having with yourself, your own creative process. With who's like, where are these ideas coming from? I don't know. But maybe the world needs them. Maybe. And if you've been watching this the whole time and wondered what the glasses are about, well, me too, man. I don't know. I just started wearing them. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.